Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the Business Growth Club. This is your weekly edition from us, and in this week's edition we're going to be carrying on from last week's video where we looked at your ongoing emails, and instead of looking at the format you may adopt and the strategy behind it and the software you might use and the tactics and the series and the sequences and all of that sort of stuff, we're actually going to be looking at some of the examples, as I referred to in last week's video, of some of the emails I've sent which have been more successful, so that you can see the styles that work, you can see some of the formats, and you can see why emails work and perhaps why some emails don't work and perhaps where you might be going wrong. Don't worry, I'm not going to show you, I've got about 10-12 examples. I'm not going to show you the full email, I'm just going to show you the headline, and I'm going to talk to you about what was involved in the email. However, should you want to see the full email, you're more than welcome. Just email me saying which email, or all of them if you want to see all of them, and we'll email you the Word file with all of them in. But I don't want to clog up this video with probably 2,000 words of text. I want just to talk about the general themes, because for most of you that will be enough. But if you want a copy of it so you can see how the email is constructed and you can see if you can follow that format yourself, you're very welcome indeed. So as I say, these are examples simply of my best performing emails. I'm not saying necessarily that if you copy these word for word they'd work for you, because you're selling a different product to a different target market, different variables involved, etc., etc. However, the actual outline, if you will, the theory behind it, the reason that the campaigns works, that's what you're looking for here. You're saying, well, I'm going to send 52 emails, what do they need to look like, what do they need to say? I've talked about using intrigue and personalization and stories and other tactics you can use, and sometimes when I say use intrigue, well, that can sound interesting and useful, but when you sit down to your computer and say, right, I need to write an intriguing email, well, actually, maybe the word intrigue doesn't help. Whereas if I talk about the times I've used intrigue, then I'm sure you can see those as good examples for yourself. Now, following these examples and following the general guidance you can infer from the examples, of course, you will write more successful emails, all other things being equal. However, don't forget, these are the ones of mine which have worked, but there's plenty that we send that don't work, but they're still working in the background. So, don't get too disappointed if you copy these emails and every single week we're not expecting a flood of sales. That's not how your email list works. So remember what I said in last week. Almost we're looking for every month we want some decent contacts from some new customers, whereas every week is a little unrealistic. We keep doing to keep it ticking along. The same as direct mail, the same as advertising, the same as networking, the same as just about every other form of marketing. Now, what makes these work? Well, sometimes I have higher open rates, so more people open them. Sometimes I have higher click-through rates, so you may promote something within the email, a URL to your website to purchase something, download something, make an inquiry, find out more, etc., etc., and they're higher. Sometimes you just get more replies, people hitting reply and saying, I like your email, can we talk next week? Or people calling you saying, I read your email, I'd like your help. However, what really matters, the biggest determinant, is whether or not people inquire to become a customer. Once I've inquired and saying, on the basis of your email, I'd like to start a conversation with you, that's when it starts to matter. And it's at that point that you then start to look at your sales conversion, all those other sorts of strategies we talked about before. The fundamental objective here is for you to get people replying to your emails and inquiring, whether that's directly to you in person via email or via a phone call or a booking form on your website or visiting your store or printing off a coupon and bringing it to you, whatever it happens to be, whatever call to action you've got and route to response, that's what matters. Sometimes you'll see higher open rates, higher click-through rates, more replies via email, but they're not technically inquiries. They're red herrings, really. That means you're probably doing something good, but maybe your bait is not kind of good enough, and you're fishing with insufficient bait, and you need to strengthen your offers or strengthen your call to action. Now, the drivers for this, these successful emails, if you will, are probably most likely to be a good subject line, like a headline in an advert or a letter. It gets people looking at it. Great offers and great call to action is again a very important element. Good, strong social proof is another element. And probably most importantly, and usually most overlooked, good copy, interesting copy, intelligent copy, novel copy, helpful copy, and then empathetic, to empathise with the prospect, And I'm going to show you not just those words, but how I've made those work in particular emails I've sent. The first email, this worked very well. We had several people and a couple of clients from this. This was more for pure accounting purposes. We just sent an email that simply said, why pay more tax than you need to? Free webinar. Now, I think the reason this worked wasn't because that's a particularly good subject line. I don't think it is a particularly good subject line. I believe it's interesting enough for someone who doesn't like paying tax to open it. Because it looks like I'm not going to sell them something. It looks like I'm going to give them free information, a free webinar. But it's not the most amazing headline you'll ever see. But sometimes when you're selling something simple, like a tax planning webinar. The whole point of this is I ran a webinar. It was actually one of my colleagues ran a webinar. I merely promoted it, where they just went through 10 ways to save tax, and then at the end of it said, how about a meeting? Very easy. And then at the bottom of the webinar, a big box appeared where people could enter their details and book an inquiry, and somebody give them a call and arrange that consultation with them. Very simple. The sales for this was done in the webinar. It was a good webinar. It was well structured. It had the right call to action, the right offer. It was well timed. All of that critical stuff at webinars. We've talked about that before. We'll talk about that again in the future. But that was the time to sell. This was simply almost low key. I know how you can pay less tax, so why not come on this webinar? It's delicate, isn't it? It's subtle. It's not bombastic. It's not in your face. It's not amazing offer, must end bank holiday Monday. It's quite subtle. It's just saying, do you not like paying tax? Well, me neither. So come on a webinar and I'll show you how not to do it. It's almost a bit of a nudge on the shoulder or a push in the right direction. Works very well. Interesting as well, we had lots of other accountants on this this webinar. This always happens it happens more in the accountancy world than any other industry I know of, with the exception of marketing, where somehow they must get your emails even though you're not directly sending them to you. I don't know how that happens. Maybe it's because you often promote this on Twitter and stuff like that as well as your emails, and they all go to the same landing page. But we had lots of accountants on this, one of whom actually inquired because they wanted a consultation, because they weren't quite sure how to do this sort of stuff for their clients, which was maybe that was an opportunity, or maybe that's very worrying. I don't know. I'll let you make your own minds up. But this worked very well. So sometimes it doesn't have to be about bombast. Sometimes you can just say, I've got something which I know you're interested in. So pick that one something you do for people that's exciting. In the outcome you get, not in the process. Tax planning is not exciting in the process. It's incredibly dull, but the outcome's fantastic. You save £5,000 a year, which you can then go and spend on whatever you want to spend it on: a holiday, reinvest in the business, upgrade your home, send your kids to school, whatever it happens to be. So it's one of those. This is good for those ones where it's not sexy as a process, but the outcomes are. It's hard to sell a sexy process with sexy marketing. It tends to be the outcome. So this is just a nudge in the right direction, and it works very well. I wrote email number 2 after the Rugby World Cup of October 2011, when New Zealand had beaten France. And I wrote it on the night of the final. I was inspired to write it having watched the final. And basically my message was, for 15 very special men who've just won a World Cup, their life will never be the same again. Every day for the rest of their lives they will wake up World Cup champions, and no one can ever take that away from them, and no one can ever achieve more, because it's the ultimate achievement. In business, it's not that clear cut. It's difficult to know what your World Cup goal could be. What could winning a World Cup be for you? But every one of us must have our life's work. So I asked people what their life's work was. Now I got, I can't remember the number, but over 50 people replying to me, telling me what their life's work was. I'd like to achieve this, I'd like to achieve that, I'd like to achieve the other. Now that didn't generate any inquiries, of course. That wasn't really the process, and I really didn't do this much as a marketing exercise. I was just inspired to write this, having had this this thought, and I just wanted to get the message across. I guess sometimes that is the value of blogging and emailing. But 50 people all said, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that, and I grouped it into about 20 different groups, because some people had the same goals. And I just sent this email saying, the next week, saying, when 50 of you emailed me, I knew I had to do something. And for all of those people, I gave them some great advice on how they could achieve that goal. And then I promoted a service, a seminar people could come along to. And of course, because it was so personalised, because it was relatively genuine, because it was spontaneous, because it was almost because it was real. It didn't seem like a marketing gimmick. It was quite genuine. I was inspired to write something. People replied with a real honest intention. I gave them some really good advice, but said, if you'd like to, we can take it further, and you know, a percentage of people did. And it worked brilliantly. So sometimes you can see something that's happening in the world. Maybe you felt this during the Olympics. Maybe you'll feel this at Christmas. Whatever. You'll be taken over by an emotion which you know will resonate with your customer base, or share that with them. Because this was very successful, but it all started by me just wanting to say something genuine and human to people, and sharing what I found an inspiration, and something which empowered me and inspired me, and I wanted to do that to the other people. Even if it hadn't led to people inquiring and taking it further, I don't think it would have mattered, because it was adding value to people, and in the future they'll come back to you. If they like you because you add value to their lives, in time they will become a customer if they're the right target market. So sometimes just adding value can be very valuable in itself. Email number 3 was really basic. Again, I was watching a film, and this wasn't fixed either. This was genuine. I was watching a film on Film 4, the film channel, and I can't remember what the film was. I was taking a very rare evening off to watch some television, and I was watching this film, and Netflix put together an advert which I watched, which struck me. It really hit me for 6, as they say, because it was one of the most perfect adverts I've ever seen. Every time I see an advert, there's a list of problems with it, and I'm disappointed. And I listen to commercial radio, not because I like commercial radio. I don't. I really dislike commercial radio. It depresses me. But I listen to it for the adverts, because I want to know what people are doing, and I'm interested in the world. And I would never normally find myself watching ITV. I only ever do this because I want to watch the adverts, and I want to see how advertisers are producing adverts and how they're communicating with people. So it's a purely business venture, if you will. And I so rarely see good advertising. And Netflix advert was, I put near perfect because maybe it wasn't absolutely perfect, because nothing is absolutely perfect, but it was incredible. And I wanted to watch it again, and I couldn't. There was no provision for replay. It wasn't. I don't have one of those boxes on television where you rewind it. There was no way I could do it, and I went on the internet and I couldn't find it. And I emailed Netflix and they wouldn't send me it, even though I could probably help them with zillions of backlinks to their website. So I just had to remember what the advert was all about, and I copied the advert in terms of a description of what it was, this television advert, and I just explained to people the anatomy, if you will, of a perfect advert. And I said, there's no reason why you can't be doing this. And I had loads of people opened this email, and we had so many people saying, this is great, I can see how this would work. But we wanted to take the conversation further on how we could help them put together better adverts. So it worked brilliantly. And again, it was spontaneous. I wrote this. I was just scribbling away after I'd seen the advert, and I wanted to see it again, but I couldn't. But I put this together, and again, I guess it was intriguing to some extent. A near perfect advert. Please copy sounds quite helpful. Obviously, I didn't tell them to copy the Netflix advert, because I'm not entitled to that copyright. I told them how to copy the template which I gave them, that kind of reduced from it. So that was that one. Number 4, I sent this one not very long ago at all, and it just says, is being different just business school talk? I'm aware that, and you know this because you listen to my videos, that having a point of difference, a USP, a unique selling proposition, unique BC benefit, whatever you want to call it, that point of difference, like USP, that is what makes the difference between an okay business and a brilliant business. Once you've got that, all the rest of it is just marketing, which is really just putting all your ducks in a row and just following best practice and adding a bit of ingenuity and a bit of creativity. But fundamentally, a point of difference is everything. It's the difference between an average or poor business and a world-leading business. However, whenever I talk about this, people turn off. I can talk about using Twitter to get customers, and people listen to me incredibly intently. Talk about a point of difference, and people turn off. However, it's the most important business message ever, as I've just said. So I wanted to break that cycle. So I just said, is being different just business school talk? Because I know people believe it is. And of course we got a flood of people opening it because it's almost you'd called their bluff. If I'd said, is being different important for your business, or being different is crucial, how to be different, people wouldn't have opened it. But because it was a very human communication on something which, like I say, it called their bluff, it was saying, well, yeah, you do need to be different, or is it just business school MBA sounding rubbish? They wanted to open it, and of course once they've opened it, they've read it, they then get in touch, and it's this was in using that kind of intrigue to call somebody's bluff. I think all of you can do this. If it's something you do which is really important, but people believe it's just detail. You know this, being different, the most important function of any business is just detail, and people aren't interested in it. This is almost how you can call their bluff. Number 5, I guess this is the same. What does sell the benefits mean anyway? And this worked in exactly the same way as number 4. Everyone's heard of selling the benefit, or a lot of people heard of selling the benefits, but they don't know what it means. People don't, it just doesn't resonate with them. They know they should be doing it. They know the difference potentially between features and benefits. And there's an awful lot. There's a whole load of these, factory-produced business coaches out there. These kind of tenner-penny business coaches who've never achieved anything, who just go around saying, "Oh, you need to sell the benefits," and people go, "Great, how do I do that?" And they go, "Oh, well, you tell people about the benefits of working with you." "Yeah, so how do I do that?" "Oh, I don't know." It's they get flummoxed. They can't take apart a business and find 20, 30, 40 unique benefits, and this is what this email showed them how to do, or it teased them of how to show them how to do that, because obviously it had a call to action for people doing that. So this took one of those ones which is a bit like a USP in example number 4. Loads of these, like I say, these kind of every ten a penny sort of business coaches and other people are always talking about this, but they don't really know what it means. They've just read it in a book. And this kind of resonates with that. You've heard it, but this is how to do it for real. And I gave people the challenge in this email, if memory serves me correctly, of I would have a session with them that was quite reasonably priced. And if I didn't find 10 truly unique benefits of working with them, they could have their money back. Of course, I know I could do that, so there's no risk in me doing that. It might sound risky, but there's no way that I couldn't do that for somebody. So so sometimes maybe you're like me. Maybe you operate in an industry where, even though some people might not look like direct competitors, even though you're selling a different product, and even though you know what you're talking about and you're highly professional, you've still got these unprofessional, weak people. But there's so many of them that there's almost together the kind of combination of them all is quite competitive. And lots of you tell me this, actually. Lots of you say I'm really good, but I've got all of these really poor competition, but there's so many of them, they're kind of, all of them are snapping at my heels. Sometimes you can start to call their bluff, and this works very well. That's how you outposition your poor performing competition who couldn't guarantee to give somebody 10 unique benefits in an hour session because they're not capable. So that's a good way of beating your competition who say the stuff. They've got all the talk, but no real idea how it applies to the real world. Number 6, very simple this. Are you ignoring your loyal customers? And I just talked about how the 80-20 applies, and how you can have real screaming customers, but they shout at you and they complain a lot, but actually they're not great customers, and they force you to ignore your really loyal customers who spend good money with you, but they don't complain and they don't demand your attention. And I gave people some ways that they could do that, and we got good responses to this, and people were interested. The whole point, of course, is you give people useful information that resonates with them, and then they hit reply, or they give you a call saying, "Yeah, you're right, you've given me some advice, but I'd like you to help me to do that some more." And that's really what you're looking for in your emails, to give somebody some information or some tips or some general advice, and you want them to then say, "That's useful, however I want you to help me some more," because I can give them a few tips in an email, but they know that that's not going to be business changing. Number 7, in memory of a great man. This was something I wrote again when Stephen Covey, who for my money is probably the best, or is the best personal development person ever, and sadly died a few months ago. And I just wrote something which just summarised his 7 habits and how they could help people. This worked very well because this got people communicating, and it kind of, one thing led to another. But again, just something I wanted to do. I wanted to write a good kind of just a good tribute, if you will, and I said that I would buy a copy of his book for anybody who wanted it. I'd buy it for our own funds and send it to people as a kind of thank you to his memory, if you will, a kind of tribute to his memory. And that was because that was a gesture. People are interested, and sometimes these things work when you look at events and you respond in a human fashion, not really looking to make any sales, but one thing leads to another, and you're adding value to people, and you're tapping into human emotion. Number 8, this was a great campaign. I've alluded to this before when we ran a Valentine's Day campaign, where we sent people a Valentine's card saying, and basically it was a twist on the tail. It wasn't really a Valentine's card. It was saying, do you love your existing advisor? If not, we should talk, because you see how that would work. And for some of these people, we had their email address because the people who'd been on our list for a long time. Other people, it was just cold marketing, but other people had been. And for the people who hadn't responded, I've just put Tony there because that was the first name of the database, but it could just as easily be whatever, pick a name in the alphabet. Basically, we sent a personalised email just saying, Tony, I just don't love you anymore. And this got an absolute incredible number of open rates. And of course, people, it worked just in the same way that the first one did. It was just the first phase of follow-up, and because it tapped into the theme, even if they didn't respond to the first one, we gave them an opportunity. So this is how you can use offline marketing. You send somebody a postcard, a letter, a Valentine's card, a Christmas card, whatever, a birthday card, a flyer, information, whatever you happen to send them in the post, but don't be afraid to follow that up with an email. And because this was a personalised email, Tony got this, but Bob got Bob, I just don't love you anymore. And these sorts of things work, and it's how you mix your marketing. You'll always get better results by mixing your marketing, not by doing it kind of straight line marketing. Okay, this this was another one. I think this worked because it's such a good subject line. What if I gave you the shirt off my back? ... And in this, I really empathise with people saying, does it sometimes feel like you just can't make a sale? You go and see somebody and you offer them everything. You almost offer to give them the shirt off your back, and they still don't become a customer. So I really empathise with people. I think it's a great subject line because I think people wanted to open it. People really wanted to open it. What's this guy going on about now? Why is he saying this? And then, because the copy really empathised with somebody, it was almost their number one fear, is how to convert someone into a customer. I get tons of inquiries, but even though I offer them the world for a great price, they still don't come on board. And obviously I showed them some ways they could overcome that. I was promoting, I think it was just a consultation or something like this. And because it empathised with people, people come on board. So you ask yourself, for you and your business, what's that one something that keeps people awake at night? I know that for our target market, one of the top 5 somethings that keeps them awake at night is not being able to convert customers. Not being able to get inquiries is one of them. I have these 5, what I call the midnight concerns, the stuff that stops somebody sleeping at night. And I actually have them printed up on my office wall, and I keep them on my office wall, and I look at them all the time because it's my duty to solve those problems. That's my mission statement, if you will. That's what I do all day long. I just solve these 5 problems. Okay, sometimes I solve problems which don't quite come onto that list, and they're summary problems, but fundamentally I spend 90% of my time helping people achieve these 5, like I say, these midnight concerns. Every business should develop these midnight concerns. For you, write down what. It doesn't have to be 5. It could be 5,000. It could be 2. It doesn't really matter. But tap into one of them. And I know that this is something which really keeps people awake at night. I'm getting inquiries, but I can't convert them into sales. No matter what I promise them, no matter what the price is, no matter what the service is, no matter what the social proof is. And these things can be solved. Of course, these things can be solved. So because I look at this 5 midnight concerns so often, it inspired me to write this and to tap into people's emotions because, as I say, I spend all day, every day solving these problems for people. But I also spend a proportion of that all day, every day educating people and inspiring people into how they can do this so they become customers. So I help people understand how we can help them, and then we deliver it. And that's your challenge as well. You're not just in the business of helping people, you're in the business of ethically appealing to people whom you could help. Because if you've got a great product and you can solve someone's problem, if I know that people don't sleep at night because they don't convert inquiries into sales. I think I have a duty to go out there and explain to people how they can do this. They don't have to buy, but I believe I should take that message to them. So this is how you can tap into that midnight concern of somebody and sending it. And this always works. You can't do this every week. And I think there's probably a danger if you do this every week. You start to... it's almost... it's a little emotionally unfair, because sometimes you can write an emotive email like this, and I think if you send this 52 weeks of the year, oh, does it feel dreadful running your business? I think it can feel a bit sad, whereas sometimes you can inspire people. You send this one, and then the next week you say, what's your World Cup? How could you win the World Cup? Share your goals with me, and that's a happy one. So don't always go in emotion, as I feel you can emotionally drain people. You can just, you can appear like the Grim Reaper, and you don't want to be the Grim Reaper, but mix the kind of the pain and the gain. I talk about that a lot, don't I? What's people's pain and what's their gain? So what's their negatives and what's their positives? Mix those two, but when you can tap into the pain, do it sparingly. It works really well. Number 10 is an email I sent a couple of years ago now, and I don't know if I'd do it in today's climate, because it's almost a couple of years ago we weren't concerned about this recession idea. I don't know if you agree with me, but I feel that people have started to become concerned about this recession in 2012. When it kicked in and it really took bite late 2008, for a couple of years nobody seemed to care. It was a bit bizarre, whereas now people seem more worried about it, even though we've lived with it for a long time. And actually now technically it's better in economic terms than it was then. But I don't know if I'd run this in a recession mindset, but I'm using it because I think it worked very well. I said, better than free, I'll pay you. And I think that's intriguing. People are very interested, so they open the email. And basically I said, I've been sending you lots and lots of emails, lots of different ways I can help you. Why not have a consultation with me for a couple of hours where I'll give you at least 10 ways to grow your business, to increase your profits, to improve your operations, and to have a better life, a better business life. However, if I don't live up to my billing and you believe I've wasted your time, then I'll pay you £100 to your favourite charity. So I'll pay you, better than free, I'll pay you. So you're getting 10 great ideas. But if you believe it's a waste of time, then you know you've got no personal commitment, if you will. And this worked very well. So this is something you can use. Like I say, maybe this language is better for the future when we get out of this recession mindset. But it's a good email, and it had good responses, so I thought I'd share that one. Now, number 11 needs to be handled with care, and if you ever consider an email like this, I'd encourage you to speak to me before you do. Give me a call or an email, and we'll chat it over. But this is something you can do to a list. Once you've got, I think 18 months is a good time period, 12 months might be a good time period, but maybe a bit too early. 18 months is, you'd be surprised the number of people who do something between 12 and 18 months. Like I said in last week's video, you feel like it's all futile, but it isn't. But after 18 months, maybe you're getting a bit of fatigue in people, and you can send, I've talked about this type of email before, you can send a kind of all or nothing email. So this one, you're average, and it's your fault. Very emotive. People open it, and I basically said, well, if you believe that your business is average, it's your fault. It's your fault because you're not doing anything about it, and you should do something about it. And I promoted a free seminar because I guess I felt that if I promoted a one-to-one consultation or a paid product or even a free trial for something, it might look a little underhand, whereas actually saying come to a free seminar where I'll show you how to turn a business from ordinary to extraordinary, I'm actually, whilst I'm insulting them, I accept I'm insulting them, that's why I'm saying handle with care. But it worked, I believe, because I'm saying whilst I'm prodding you a bit hard, I'm being very, very challenging, I'm actually doing it because I care about you, and I'm going to give you this free full seminar on how to go from ordinary to extraordinary. So like I say, this is something maybe for a lot of you it's in the future. But if your email list is up to 18 months, and obviously you segment your list, you don't send this to you good people, or even the people who haven't bought yet but they reply with encouraging messages and thank you for your emails, they're probably people who can't afford it, or now's just not the right time. Don't do it to them, but it's for non-responders. Or almost for people who open your emails, and I think this is the core audience, they open your emails but they never do anything. So they must be interested, but nothing happens. So you segment your list. We've talked about how you segment your list, and all your email softwares will allow you to do that. And you send this all or nothing email. But because the bounty was quite high, offering people a free seminar from ordinary to extraordinary, I believe that's why people responded okay to this. I say treat it with care, and if you're considering something like this, have a chat with me beforehand. I'll more than happily talk it over, and maybe it won't quite work for your business, or maybe we'll come up with a different format. But I just want you to be aware that almost in the future, if you're just starting email marketing, some of you aren't, some of you have been doing it for a long time, but most of you, from the feedback I've got, are just starting, and you're using these emails as a kind of guidance, if you will. And you'll have hit and miss, and you'll develop and you'll grow over time. So you're a long way off this, but if you just remember in the future, sometimes even when people have been on the list for a very long time, you can do something with these people. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's recording. As I say, they're just the headlines I use for the emails and a description of the theory behind it. So now hopefully when I say you've got to be intelligent or intriguing or novel, you know what that means, and you can see how we would do it, and you can see how it applies to your business. If you're not so sure how some of these ideas would resonate with you, drop me an email, give me a call. And if, of course, you would like some of the copy that goes with these emails, again, just ask me. But remember, you're working hard sending emails to people, and you're always trying to make people happy to receive your emails. So people want to receive your emails. You want to feel proud for sending them. You want to write an email that you feel is adding value to people. But not just adding value, enough value, so that somebody will want to respond. They believe that you're adding sufficient value in an email that by working with you, they'll get much more value. So that's the end of today's recording. I hope you found it useful. I hope the ideas can resonate with your business, and it gives you lots of different ideas for how you can go away and write some great emails. You'll hear from me in a week's time, so between now and then, have a fantastic time in business. Goodbye for now.